What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be doing our Washington Commanders 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Below my face is my board. It is not predictive. It is just the players that I love in the order that I love them. Players with a plus, by the way, are pre-injury grades. That is not post. I am no doctor. I'm not going to be one to predict that, but it is completely transparent. I back it up with all 22 clips over my X page, and if you want to support the show, using code HAILMARY when you sign up for UnderDog ends up giving you up to 1,000 in bonus credit. On top of that, they send me $60, full transparency, but at the same time, I also love the brand. I love to support them. I don't do it just for monetary reasons. So let's get into this, and this is a live mock draft. We're going to be referencing our lads the whole entire time here, so let's see how the board falls. And a Luther Burden goes right before us. Fuck! All right, well, that's going to make it interesting, okay? Let's go and address what we got to do. So, reviewing the depth chart here, Jaden Daniels, obviously, stud. We might want to be able to get a backup quarterback in this draft. We do have some ones like day 3 range that we can end up bringing on that is just good, reliable. You could end up bringing back Marcus Mariota if you wanted to, but I digress. Apparently Marcus Mariota is better than Jaden Daniels, according to whatever that Joe A guy on X is. Absolute douche noz. But regardless, great quarterback. As long as he stays healthy, that's the biggest question. Running back wise, you could be in the market for one. Austin Eckler did have a relative resurgence after being called super duper slow back in Los Angeles. So good for him. Brian Robinson, love him to death. You got Chris Rodriguez here as well. You talk about the offensive line. Sam Cosmi being hurt is just kicking the balls. Offensive line is going to need to be addressed nonetheless. And to be fair, I don't really think the offensive line is going to be star-studded. I still think you upgrade from Wiley. You can even upgrade from Biotish, but I feel like Allegretti, Coleman, like these guys. Coleman's going to be the long-term left tackle, and I'm excited for it. I thought that he performed very well for how much development I wanted from him. And so I do think this offensive line is in progress to be really, really good. I do think that right tackle spot probably going to be something we focus on. So looking at the other players that, we do have receiving core wise, Deebo Samuel traded for a 5th round pick. Again, you're just filling in the gaps because you look at how many receivers are, not going to be on our team anymore. And there's some guys who can end up being re-signed. Of course, we're literally one day away from free agency happening. So we'll see what happens. Luke McCaffrey going to be moved up to that starting slot receiver. It is what it is. I wasn't a big Luke McCaffrey guy. That's just me. But I digress. Terry McLaurin's a stud. Just getting a little bit older, unfortunately. And so Zach Ertz re-signed on a 1-year deal. Ben Sinnott, 2nd round pick. I was very much against Ben Sinnott, but I really do hope he proves me wrong. And he's also on my fantasy team. So that is why I literally took a bet against him and ended up making a bet for him after the fact. So fingers crossed right there. But, definitely have some areas of growth on the offense. Defensively, you guys ended up making Dante Fowler legitimate, and I do think you need to bring him back. I feel like he should be willing to take a pay cut to come back, just because he's been pretty much non-factor outside of this system here. So I'd really want that for him. Shout out to Jean Baptiste, love him to death. Really good depth player. You also look on the other edge side. You had Cleveland Ferrell, could end up bringing him back, but this is a good edge class. I would not do that. Drawn Payne, Johnny Newton, going to be your starting 2. Did just cut Allen, so we'll see where he ends up going. But this is kind of the vision. It seemed like this was going to happen, but it's just seeing nobody being willing. I know that contract's heavy, but nobody's willing to take a swing, and being able to get what Jared Allen once was a little bit surprising, but. Again, it happens. Looking at the linebackers, Bobby Wagner coming back on a 1-year deal is excellent. This guy is just such a stud. Frankie Louvu, really good linebacker pickup as well. And then, Dominique Hampton listed as a will linebacker from safety is pretty intriguing. Jordan McGee as well. Good depth here. Good depth. The linebacker squad looking quite nice. If you didn't have Bobby Wagner, I'd be genuinely terrified. But at this point, I do think that you guys are doing a pretty good job. Another year of development for McGee, and then potentially Hampton. I honestly don't remember if Hampton even took snaps this year. It definitely is something where I could see them taking a good enough step to compete for a starting role. You look at the corner position, Mikey on the boundary has done such a good job, in my opinion, that it's surprising based on his frame, but the moment I saw this guy, he had the it factor. I'm like, oh, this guy's a baller. So he's still developing. I know he was an older prospect as well, if I'm not mistaken, transferring from wide receiver to nickelback and corner. So you guys ended up rolled the dice on him, and he ended up paying off. Very good player. Marshawn Lattimore, as long as he can stay healthy, I mean, he hasn't been really good for the past couple years, but I mean, I still think that, you took a swing on a player who was once all pro level and hoping that he can stay healthy enough. Nickelback, definitely an area where we can improve. There's a lot of very good corners in this draft. And there's one that I know that I'll draft on day 3 because I saw you guys talking to him. I know that because I was trying to talk to the player, and then one of your scouts ended up interrupting and took him away. But that's okay. We ended up talking to the guy anyway. But regardless, Ben St. Juste being a free agent, he's going to probably try to get some cash. Also, I would say another safety, underrated need. So we're going to see how we can end up filling that. You guys ended up doing a good job in free agency, but let's see how we address it here. Malachi Starks, I already just took him, but also he's not necessarily going to be the safety archetype that I would try to replace with Jeremy Chin. If I'm going to be real, I don't know why Dominique Hampton is not being utilized potentially in that way, but that is not for this conversation. Colson Loveland slip in here. Just going to be honest, I'm going to ignore that. I highly doubt that he'd ever slip this far. So looking at areas of growth, I could go Gray Zabel here. Josh Connerly could be trained up, but he did have that bad right tackle rep at the Senior Bowl where, I mean, he ended up being Offensive Lineman of the Week, voted by the players he was playing against. But I do like the idea of going after an edge here. I just drafted Nick Scott in a recent mock draft, so, I mean, feel free to put him in here. But I think JT Tuimoloau is being extremely underrated at this point. I don't know why, but this guy's a legit first-round player. Legit first. And I think at 61, he's not going to slip there. We didn't get, I got lucky last time, and he ended up slipping. He's not going to do it this time. Maybe Jack Sawyer would slip, but those 31-inch arms are going to be a concern. I think JT Tuimoloau is just a rock-solid edge. And you look at the receiving core, it's just a little early. And I love Jack Bash. I mean, I personally would be willing to take him here, but I do think it's relatively unrealistic. So it's just, I don't feel like they're going to be the type to select that with the picks that they do have. So I'm going to elect to go after best player available for a position of potential need, which is going to be that edge rushing room. JT Tuimoloau is a great player, but if you want to sub it with Nick Scott, you can do that too. At number 61, let's look at what we can do here. Ursery would be a really good target. And I mean a very good target. Ozzy Trapilo, I've taken him a couple times in these mock drafts. We could try to roll the dice and see if he slips to 79. But let's see who else is available. Ursery at this point would be such a good player to develop at right guard and be the heir apparent at right tackle. He ended up showing that flexibility in the Senior Bowl. He's still extremely raw as a left tackle, and so I feel comfortable with him. But you could also go Ozzy Trapilo. I don't think there's going to be a bad move here. Ursery is just going to be someone who I think needs to play some guard reps early, which with the injury to Cosme, I think that's going to be very beneficial to him. So I'm going to go after Ursery here. I do think it's going to be a net positive move for us. I think wide receiver and tackle are going to be the biggest ones. And seeing Ursery slip this far, I think you have to go after the best player available. At 79, I think we need to get a weapon. Jalen Royals is here. That's a player I love to take, and so I'm probably going to take him again. That's just someone who I think would really work well both as the slot and on the boundary. He did play primarily boundary this year, and with Debo in the slot, I do think he provides a strong foundation for success, and we're not picking until 206, and this is a massively pressing issue for me being able to address edge, tackle. I mean, I know corner also is a big one, but I mean, again, there's also a lot of corners on free agent market. I do think that, same thing with wide receiver, to be fair, but if we want to look at the corner value here, not remotely the same, in my opinion, as Jalen Royals. So we're going to go after Jalen Royals at pick number 79 and see what falls to 206. So, who fell? Got some good quarterbacks here, honestly. That's been kind of a consistent theme. Do we need extra defensive interior? Honestly, yeah, that backup defensive interior room is garbage. So, Junior Tafuna, I just took him in a recent mock draft, but again, at this point, a lot of guys are pretty interchangeable, whether it's Thor Griffith. Cam Horsley is a very good defensive interior, a very underrated player. Honestly, someone who I'd be willing to take here, and I might take him above Junior just because I haven't taken Horsley before, but if you want Junior Tafuna, feel free to take him. LaQuint Allen's a very good back. Honestly, very good back, very underrated player. I'd be open to taking him. LaQuint Allen would be a good weapon here. Same thing with Ty Felton. I mean, getting some extra depth at wide receiver there, but that backup defensive interior room is bad. Cam Horsley is going to be the player that I end up taking for him. At number 238, You got Jaquavius Marks, Woody Marks here. He's a good receiving back. And looking at how your situation's built, which we could end up actually, we should, oh, whoopsies. We should go after a nickel, because I do know at this point, I was going to go after, I forgot that you guys had such a big gap, so unfortunately did not end up being able to go after, where is my guy? Where's Jalen? Yeah, he went at 200. Like, talk about kicking the balls, but Mac McWilliams is going to be good in the slot as well. I took him in the most recent mock draft, but he was more so a filler player than anything. He'll be there at 250, but I also want to give credit to my top 50 player who will play nickel for us. There's going to be a couple guys who are reused, but that's okay. At number 250, looking again at what we've done, a lot of really, really good firepower that we've added. And so I feel comfortable trying to maybe take another pick on another star player. Ja'Cory Brooks got that deep speed. Honestly, probably going to be the player that I'd want to go after here. Bo Collins, good blocker. Daquan Felton, he's going to be a little bit of a bigger, heavier receiver. Tested out pretty well as well for his size. Jackson Meeks, shout out to him. Like Elijah Badger, though. I mean, if you want to have someone who's going to also grow and be, like, he ended up stepping up big time for this team. He had a 0.0% drop rate. I'm going to give Elijah Badger some love, but he also could be kicked into the slot and end up being a Debo heir apparent. So, reviewing what we ended up doing in this mock draft, you got JT Tuimalau, our star edge one. Our guard future right tackle here in Arianti Ursary, going to be that second round pick, third round pick, Jalen Rolls to play on the boundary. You also have Elijah Badger there to back him up. Then defensive interior depth, we got Cam Horsley, and then we also have Nickelback starting, as well as depth here with Mac McWilliams. So that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.